A physical bloodbath of a basketball game goes to overtime, and the Rockets out-duel the Jazz, winning it in overtime against the Utah Jazz by the final score of 127-126 as Jordan Clarkson comes up short on the final shot. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone tonight as the Rockets out-duel the Jazz in a very, 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 very physical basketball game. Jazz trailed by 7 at the end of 1. They trailed by 13. Can you turn off the locker room? I've got all that sound in the background. I don't know if you can hear me. That would be great. Jazz down by 13 at the half. Then they fight back to get it tied at 89 and 115. And so the tie going to overtime. And from there, sorry, just lot my ears right now, so my brain is not that talented. So the Jazz fall in overtime by the final score of 127-126. So 2 signatures tonight. Jazz fought back, which is great. Second signature is just how incredibly physical this game was, and the Rockets really were the more physical team. I mean, they earned this win with 23 offensive rebounds. They forced 17 turnovers. The Jazz only forced 7. And then they made big plays late.
So are you more physical? I mean, more impressed with the fact that it was a physical basketball game, but it was less.
We're going to have to pause here for a second. I'm getting that press conference in my ears. Is it also going over my ear here? Sorry, guys. So unfortunately, we're getting the Will Hardy presser in our ears right now, so it's hard for us to talk. Well, there, I think we got rid of it. All right, go back to what we were saying, Ron.
As physical as it was, and you look at the amount of fouls that were called, 24 for the Jazz, 22 for the Rockets. That's about normal. But the game was still physical enough.
I mean, every drive, every possession, like Sexton and Clarkson were crazy impressive to me in that they were just driving and driving and driving. They were just getting hit and pounded and beaten and then Sengun's just bounding, boom, bah, the whole time. I mean, Sengun walked by me. I was talking to the great Hall of Famer Tina Thompson before the game, and Sengun walks by me, and his lower body's just, wow.
Lower body, strong lower body, meaning legs and buttocks.
Yeah.
It's strong, and he uses it. He uses it well to create space, and then a little jump hook over the left shoulder, a little jump hook over the right shoulder. You see Jokic do it as well. Guys that don't jump learn to use the body. He's done a good job of
that. So much to this. I mean, Walker gets 6 free throws late. He goes 3 of 6. He's a 50% free throw shooter. Those are his first 6 clutch free throws. Obviously, if you make some of those, you feel better about it. Walker probably did as good a job on Sengun as anyone did. Jabari Smith and Sengun score all 12 overtime points after Fred VanVleet goes out, and they made a bunch of plays. I thought the comment by Ime Udoka in the pregame where he said, "We want to disrupt you so that you have to make plays, not run plays," was a very telling indicator of where this game was going to go.
Yeah, which means you're going to have to beat us with a couple of players, guys off the dribble, that type of thing. And the Jazz, for the most part, Clarkson and Sexton were the ones that could do that. I don't know if you put the ball in Markkanen's hands or anything like that, if he could make some of those plays. He probably could if you put him in the right spots on the floor.
They really couldn't get Markkanen the ball late in the games. He missed a few threes, but it was off other people's actions.
But I know you've talked a lot tonight about the offensive rebounds that they were able to come up with, but even with that, second chance points, they had 25. Fast break points, they only ended up with 19. So points in the paint, even 64-65.
Well, the wild thing about this game is they're the number 1 transition defense in the league. They allow the 4th fewest, and they are the best at stopping you in transition. And I don't know these are always related because I don't actually believe this, but they're 23rd in offensive rebounding. So they completely changed what they do as a team tonight to crash the glass against the Jazz, saw that as a Jazz weakness. And then in turn, it allowed the Jazz to run at them for a little while. I'm not actually a big believer that crashing the glass leads to allowing offensive transition. But in tonight's game, I think because the Rockets were doing something unnatural, which is crashing the glass, they did allow more transition.
Well, what it got the Jazz was some transition early offensive plays. They didn't necessarily score in fast break points. They got more transition offensive plays, which means they could push the ball to the floor, get right into something that Will was been trying to get them to do all season long, and they were able to come up with some very good looks from that standpoint.
What did you see how Colin and Jordan kind of carry the load? They scored 16 straight at one point, I think it was. What did you see from them, and how they handled what the Rockets were doing?
Well, they were the only ones, for the most part, that could break the defense down and drive to the basket and maybe get to the free throw line, create for others. But you have to give Houston for credit, because sometimes when they were driving to the basket, there wasn't any pass lanes in order to kick it out for a 3-point shot, especially there in that fourth quarter. We didn't see a lot of that, but it was Clarkson and Sexton who carried the load in that fourth quarter, especially.
So Ron and I watch a lot of basketball on the plane. It's kind of like a running joke a little bit. Coaches always come back and they're like, "What are you guys watching today?" Ron and I are always watching games. We have been watching a lot of Rockets recently because we got really engaged with Alperen Sengun.
Fascinated
by this 6'11", tied to the ground, old school low pivot player. And he dropped 37 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists. How does he do it, Ron?
41 minutes of play. Just gets to his spots and uses his body so well. Not going to kill you from the outside with his perimeter shooting, although he did make a 3 here tonight. But he just gets it done. And also, David, he tries to go over everyone's back to get rebounds. And when it doesn't get it, he tries to keep it alive there as well. So he's just not relinquishing a rebound to you. He actually, so when I watched him play, we watched him play on the airplane, we noticed how hard he plays and how hard he works. He averages 32, 33 minutes a ball game, and it gives you 32, 33 minutes. Ben Leaf, he averages 37 minutes a ball game. So those two guys spend a lot of time on the floor, and they actually get the job done for this team.
Impressive by Sengun tonight. Jabari Smith was the other kind of big hero. And Dylan Brooks, you can see how Dylan Brooks has changed the Rockets. He's not a very efficient offensive player, but, he's face guarding Sexton. Sexton finished with Sexton, I don't think, scored a point in the final about 8-9 minutes of this game tonight. When Dylan Brooks suddenly guarded him, I don't think Sexton scored again, because Colin was sitting on 28 for a long time tonight. In fact, Colin had, at the 4:06 mark of the fourth quarter, Colin had 26. So for the final 9 minutes, he had 2 points tonight. Dylan Brooks changes who the Rockets are.
Yeah, he really does. He's physical. He's made them a defensive presence. Like I said, they only give up 111 points a ball game. They score 112. So they're used to being in close basketball games, and their defense has probably been one of their biggest assets.
So the Jazz were down 17 and fought their way back. So that's, kind of a good effort on that regard. Got it tied by the time we headed to the fourth, went to overtime tied. The story of the night, the physicality of the Rockets, the 23 offensive rebounds by the Rockets. I think the inability to get Lowry involved late because of the way they were playing, but I'm not sure that's I think the Jazz had good answers to that. And then Jordan Clarkson's final game on the game winner. What was your thought on that one? I thought he had a chance to win it.
I take it 100% of the time. I take that shot with Jordan. You could not have executed a better play to get a better shot than that. That was an 8-9 footer, uncontested.
Right.
That hit the front part of the rim.
Yeah, he just pulled the string, as they say on that one.
Yeah.
All right, who are your stars tonight, Ron Boone?
It's probably just as easy as it was the other night with the backcourt. You're looking at Sexton and Clarkson, the ones that actually, although Kessler, you could probably make an argument for him there as well with the way he played. We ended up with 10 rebounds, 7 and 5 block shots. Huge block shots, but the offensive game was carried by those two guys in the back.
I'm going to be really curious to look at the data tomorrow and see what Sengun did when guarded by Walker. I honestly just don't have any, as a highlight call, I have some blocks, but he did feel like he scored an awful lot on Walker and was much better against Walker inside 6 feet than just about anybody has been all year long. I would agree with you. I think the game, it's interesting because I don't love 27 shots by Colin Sexton for 28 points. And Jordan, 12 rebounds is pretty awesome. And so Jordan, I actually don't have a problem with 33 points, 12 rebounds tonight. And Colin couldn't get free of Dylan Brooks late. But I don't know where else you would go. The game kind of dictated that. I think the game dictated those guys were going to get the stars no matter what. Like, I'm not sure. I think that's what Houston does. They didn't allow any other stars. One other note for you tonight, Keontae did not play the second half. He just was not good in the first half. Like, there's just, like, at some point, you don't – Will Hardy has been very, very consistent about this. You do not get minutes. You earn minutes. And his play tonight did not lead you to have much confidence. I think he was about minus 16 or something crazy, minus 13 in 9 minutes in the first half. The Jazz just had no chance against the physicality of the Rockets when he was on the floor.
I totally agree.
That wraps us up. That is POSTCAST tonight. Thank you very much. We now send you to the first ever 24/7 stream on YouTube, national sports stream, Locked On Sports Today. Have a great one.